I'm tying the Dorset on a number 12 sproat hook using brown thread. When I start my thread on my hook shank, I give it those couple wraps and then start wrapping over the tag end, but I hold the tag end up so that as I wrap, the tag end keeps the thread nice and even touching as I go down the shank of the hook. I'm tying the Dorset from the illustration and the actual fly in Mary Orvis Marbury's book, Favorite Flies and Their Histories. This is a fly created by Charles Orvis in 1883. The fly has a gold tag, so I am adding some bicolor tinsel. I'll take my thread out of the way, and then I will wrap that tinsel. As I begin to wrap it, I flip it so that the gold side shows, and I will take a few wraps down the bend of the hook. And I am using an extra small tinsel because it wraps better around the bend. Come back up to where I tied that in. I'll bring my thread back, and then I'll wrap over the top of my tinsel, and I'm going to wrap down the entire length of the shank with the tinsel because I want to create a very smooth shank because I'm going to be putting floss on for the body. So by wrapping down the entire length, then I keep it smooth and don't have a lump at the tail end, although I do have a little bit of a lump from tying it in there. For the tail, I'm using brown hen hackle. Just grab a few hackle fibers and I'll lay those on top of the shank. It's a fairly long tail, so at least the length of the hook shank, and then wrap the entire length again with those barbs sitting on top of the hook. The body is olive floss, so what I have is some 3/0 olive thread that I'm going to double and double so it's quadrupled. And I'm going to just wrap lightly over that as I tie it in with the fold towards the bend of the hook. And then I can pull up through my wraps to bring that fold into where the body will be, and then go ahead and wrap over that up to the eye or behind the eye where I will tie in the hackle and the wing. Leave myself room for that. And the reason I wrap it with the floss at the front, towards the front like this, is so that I can wrap down towards the bend of the hook and back to create the body of this fly. So touching wraps, maybe a little bit overlapping to create as smooth a body as I can. Not real worried about it. This is not a competition fly. I'll bring that back to where I have the tail tied in and not cover up the tag either. And then I can wrap back and it'll build the bulk of the body just a little bit. 3/0 thread is fairly heavy, and when I use 4 strands like that, then I get the floss effect. I'll do 3 wraps over the top of that and then pull back on it and wrap tight underneath with 3 wraps, and then I can clip out my waist. For the front hackle, I have another brown hen feather, and I've stripped all the fluff from the bottom of the feather. I will grab the tip of that with my hackle plier and then pull back on all the fibers that will become the hackle. Try to get an even divider there. And I like to clip my tip first. You can tie it in and clip it after, but I like it clipped first. And then I just wrap up over that little triangle that catches in that hackle feather. I'll grab the rachis or stem with my hackle plier, and then I'll pull back on all the barbs and wrap this as I would wrap a soft hackle. 1883 is certainly prior to the dry fly craze in the United States, so it's pretty certain that this fly would have been tied or fished anyway as a wet fly. So using hen hackle or hen feathers for the hackle I think is appropriate. And then I'll take 3 wraps up over the top of that rachis, and then I will pull back on it and maybe in all of the hackle and just wrap up over the end of the rachis to catch it in, and then I can grab it and snap it out. I'm going to separate the top to give me the place to tie in the wings. For the wings, I am using pheasant wing feathers, so slips off of the pheasant wing, and I have matching wings or matching feathers each off of a opposite wing. So 2 of those slips back to back, and I'll lay them on top of my hook so that the tip of the wing comes out about to the end of the feather, kind of down between the hackle. I'll hold that on top of the hook and pinch it, bring my thread up between my fingers, and then come down and then cinch back up, and then do a couple of wraps and then straighten that out and make sure that it's sitting straight on top. Now there's some guesswork here in terms of what exactly I should be using for the wings. J. Edson Leonard says that it should be duck quill, but I don't have any, and he says mallard, but I don't have brown mallard duck quill. And the illustration is certainly a brown colored wing. The wings on the actual fly look white, but I'm wondering if there isn't a lot of fading since the body on the actual fly is no longer olive either. The heads on Mary's flies were fairly large because she used hooks that did not have eyes on them, and she tied gut onto her flies. Gut is the guts from a silk moth caterpillar. It was dissected, stretched, twisted together, and then tied on either as a leader with an eye on it or as the eye of the fly. I'll clip that out. In a contemporary twist, I will put some diluted goop for the head cement, dip a needle in my jar, get a drop, and just take that onto the head of the fly. And that will soak in. It will dry clear. And then to make sure that I can put a tippet through the eye of this fly, I can take and pass a feather through the eye.